All right, Poddy surprise! It's another episode of the PoddyC, despite it being we were gonna take a couple weeks
We
off,
lied.
but then we
We
lied.
lied.
There's a bunch
We
of stuff
lied.
that came out. Patch 11.1. It seems like it's gonna be a really fun patch. You can drive a car dangerously fast. You can go to the casino. You can then come home, play the new World of Warcraft patch. It should be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a completely unprecedented amount of information. I remember like this patch, 11.0.7 coming out earlier this week, and it was, or was it last week? Maybe it was last week. And it was like, whatever, like it seems kind of fine. And then it's just like, man, not a lot of hype going on right now. And then just all the information in the world. They're like cooking different tier sets. They changed some Mythic Plus depletion stuff. Infinite amounts of class changes. Druids finally got a new class tree. I mean, on and on. We have a lot to talk about today. So that's what we were going to take a couple weeks off, but then Blizzard did not take that well and decided to release the most information possible.
Yeah, it turns out by far the biggest thing that patch 11.0.7 did was freed up the PTR to become the new patch PTR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah,
exciting
some of you
times.
guys saw too. They updated the citrine gems.
Yeah,
There were a bunch of complaints, and they've addressed that issue fairly quickly.
What I could tell is that the ones you had available to this week weren't that good. And, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, releasing a ring and then it not being good just makes no sense. But
yeah, it seemed like kind of a one of those blunders that should be kind of predictable at this point if you're Blizzard, right? It's like,
Yeah.
we've got a new system coming out. What are people going to experience right away with it? Is it going to suck on the first few weeks? And if so, like, I feel like that problem just kind of trumps any benefits that they might have. Like, that's just got to be fixed.
I think they're in their own head about the same thing that happened last time, because they made the post again and they were like, we want it to be, good for you now, but naturally get outpaced by gear you get next patch. And that they tried to do that last time, impossibly hard to do that. So if they're trying to make that happen naturally, they're going to undershoot. It's really easy to undershoot your goal of like, it's going to at least be good, right? If you weren't worried about it naturally, like what's going to happen, the same thing that happened last time, is they're just going to nerf it in the next patch. And maybe that's okay, right? But if you're trying to do it naturally, you're just not going to have it be powerful enough. So I didn't even
They didn't buff it. They just accidentally launched it with a healing gem as the only gem that goes in the C slot, and now they're going to let you have all the gems.
Yeah.
Imagine having only healers getting a gem. Wow,
Yeah.
couldn't be any worse. No, but like it's weird because they're releasing something that's supposed to be used this patch, right? And it's like not supposed to really be used next patch, and they're having it being time gated this late in. So it's like, who's even really using the ring?
Yeah, they're
Like,
like
if you're gonna
releasing the
time gate it for
gems
weeks.
every week. You're
It's like
getting
you're-
like a new set of gems. So, like you're not getting all the power right away. I don't know if that's I'm necessarily too mad at that. If it's at least
no,
usable right
The problem
away.
is like it's this late into the patch, so it's like by the time you're using it, it's gonna be like 1 or 2 months away from the next patch, right? So it's like you hardly get any use out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the problem. If it will be good as soon as all the gems are available, which is going to be a couple hours. But like that, by the time this video comes out or this podcast comes out, all the gems will be available. Like it's going to be BIS for everybody. Once that's true, right? But just
Good.
the problem was it launched with a slot that only had a healer gem.
Yeah. Also,
But
I'm just not super worried about 11 point. I mean, I think a few of us, right? We're maybe some of you guys listening are still going hard on the patch. Maybe your guild's still going for cutting edge or AOTC or something. We are definitely on the like afterburners. We're just chilling until the new season. But boy,
But I'm gonna be honest, I've been enjoying this break.
yeah, welcome to everyone who is taking the back half of the patch off and then coming back to what seems like an amazing second patch, this expansion. Welcome to the club, man. The sun is great over here. It's always fun to just play a WoW season when it's great and then play other stuff when it's not and then come back when it's great again. It's the way.
Yeah, it was one of the first seasons in a long time where I've taken a break. Because like normally I'm playing the entire season. You guys already know that. But I've actually been hard addicted to PoE too. Holy fuck, it killed my sleep.
That's
PoE
I
good.
just
too?
woke up actually.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So forget 11.0.7. It's out.
Yeah.
It's a little underwhelming. we're not really playing it. We're gonna move on from that. All right, what was the thing that you guys heard yesterday that stuck out to you the most that were like crazy developmental changes for the new season?
Probably the M plus change to talk about first and foremost.
The depleting one, or I guess there's a few things.
Well, a couple of things for season 2.
Yeah.
Which ones?
So
we can pull it
there's they like unified the affixes, right? So all the affixes have the same penalty if you screw them up, which seems reasonable. Seems pretty cool, actually.
The thing they did about Mythic Plus that I found super. So the depleting thing seemed like it would actually affect kind of a relatively small amount of people. Maybe you guys can like help me get better perspective on that. But the thing that I thought was really cool is we've been talking for a while that there's like this end goal. There's like getting the portals, and then it seems like there's these high key people with an end of season achievement or feat of strength title, and then there's nothing to connect those two things, and it's like really it feels like there was something missing there, and I feel like they added that, right? Like they are having, you know, there's Keystone Hero, Keystone Master, and now there's Keystone Legend, right? They're literally creating a stepping stone to doing high keys and incentivizing you to do it via an in-game achievement, right? And I think that's
there's
something.
not a whole lot out of it outside of the achievements.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense because I could see if it being like because doing 12s is significantly hard for people who are used to going to 10s. Going to 12s is a big jump of like requirement for them, right? I think they're probably scared of putting like a mount there, or
they did nerf that cliff as well, which
Correct.
is a really big thing. That's something I'm really happy to see.
It's
actually.
like scaling the big scaling starts at like 13 now, right? So 12 just isn't included in that. It's a very small jump from 11.
The same with 13 as well. Like 11, it's
No, yeah,
now
they're
12's. 12 just makes the scaling per level 12% instead of 10%. So
Oh,
there's
but the
no
jump
like,
isn't
jump
there
anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, it's just
But
like more of a
that's so
gradual
good though, right? Like think
Yeah.
about the amount of
Yeah.
I remember talking in my stream and trying to identify the different groups of people, and I had missed this group that's in between the high key players and the 10s of people that are just playing the game for fun and want to just do a little bit more and a little bit more. And those people felt like that 12 gap they're like I can't, like it's just too much for the people I'm playing with, and now I'm done. Where if it was more incremental, they usually would play longer. So it felt like it was just a big mistake to have the jump be that big. So definitely a big W getting rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we call the mid-core people, quote unquote. But
Yeah.
I feel like this whole depleting thing doesn't really serve any purpose. Like it doesn't really affect anyone because in order to get it, you have to complete 12s, right? And by the time
Yeah.
you complete 12s, then well, if you're doing below 12s, you're not really struggling. Like if you're out here doing 12s already, you shouldn't really have a hard time doing a weekly 10.
Yeah.
Helps sales, kind of.
Like, what,
Maybe.
I
kind of
actually
a-
agree.
Yeah,
I think
I don't know.
the reward itself is kind of whatever, actually. Like it's not really likely to matter all that much for most, cases. It's just, but the fact that there's something there, I think, is really cool. Like I think that's
Yeah.
the main news for me is like they are ramping up the
reward
rewardiness.
structure.
One thing I
Yeah.
could
Yeah,
think
I
is
do want something out of legendary.
when we were talking with Megaset about Mythic Plus, something that we were kind of just talking about whether affixes were good or bad. I remember Dorky, you and her said that like anytime you're doing like a 12 and then you do like an 11 plus 3 homework key or something, like it's just so noticeable how much you don't like doing the affixes. And maybe one thing that will help with that is that just will never happen, right? Like if you're a 12 group, you can never see affixes again as long as all of you have reached that threshold one time. You would never actually have a key D rank to 11 unless you did it on purpose, right? Maybe that is some small benefit. Like you won't have to actually have that happen. I know it's like an earlier season thing, but
It's not so much the worrying about depleting to an 11. I think it's more so the if you're doing something lower for weekly. Like if you're just doing a 10 for weekly, right? Like if you're just like out there pugging, then it's like, oh, now we notice this affix that we don't normally interact with. But I'm gonna be honest, I haven't interacted with that affix in so long. Like, not to brag or anything, but goddamn, I like do not touch 10s at all. It's like this shit is so irrelevant to me.
Wow.
you're insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a bunch of stuff to talk about with class changes, but is there anything else that kind of stuck out to you guys from these notes? I think there's one major one, right? They've been asking for it for like 3 years since the Shadowland faded, but they put some
is it?
version of Dinars in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that. So what exactly happened?
So there's a raid renown track that's been data mined. We don't have any specifics on it, but at levels 17 and 19 in the renown track, there are dinars, basically, is what the description says, something you could exchange for raid gear. And there's been a data mined new upgrade track that goes up. It's like a 14-step upgrade track that goes all the way up to myth 6 out of 6. So, or to like the max eye level. So
the dinar would give you like a normal, probably eye level piece, but you can upgrade that normal piece all the way to like max mythic eye level, kind of similar to the Fated season.
Right, same with how it worked in the Dragonflight. But there's only 2 of them, and they're right at the very end of that renown track. Now, the specifics of the renown track are unknown. It also includes a 3% stacking raid buff every 3 steps of the renown track, which makes me think you're going to get one of these per week, which makes me think you're going to get the dinars on the 4th month of the patch.
Yeah, it's very late. Yeah, again, they haven't like even made an official announcement, so maybe we shouldn't read too much into the timeline, but that was my first thing that stuck out to me is, yes, they're giving you a dinar. I don't know exactly how early in a patch you should get that, but if you go off of the raid buffs kind of getting up at the same rate we've gotten now, which I think we're on the 5th raid buff right now.
Yeah.
The 5th raid buff is actually right before when you would get your first dinar, or I think it's the same level. And
the raid buff right now, though, is 2.25% every 2 weeks, whereas the one on the renown track is 3% every 3 renown steps, which makes me think that it's
Wait, when does it start?
It's once per week, so it'll be even later than that.
So initial impression is if we're getting a dinar 4 months into the patch, I think that's definitely too late, right? Like, I don't know exactly when the right time is, but so how many months are we into the patch now? Like,
we're still less than that. Yeah,
like that's insane.
We would not be getting it yet
Yeah.
if this had existed in the current patch. I don't think. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know why they're doing it for raid, because it's like part of the raid renown track, and because it hasn't been announced and we only see the raid renown track, maybe there's some other way in the patch to get like a mythic plus dinar. But I think one thing, the dinar has always been about raids, and it's because the raids rotated in the Fated season, so it never included dungeon loot. But I think a regular retail season, the dinar actually needs to include mythic plus items as well, because I think one of the issues with loot acquisition is, yeah, there are players that like, there's like always a trinket, like a mythic spy masters or a mythic augury or just something off like a late mythic boss that a lot of people don't get to. They want that mythic trinket. They should get it at some point in the season. So like it has some purpose. But I also think it's just ridiculous that if your best in slot trinket is a mythic plus trinket, you are just completely at the mercy of RNG if you will ever see that item in your lifetime. There's no way to guarantee it no matter how good you are, which is kind of ridiculous. So I think those dinars you should get a mythic plus one as well, or like those just should also include like at least all the weapons and trinkets from mythic plus. I feel like that would be a good thing to add.
Yeah. So I just looked at the calendar. If it is week 16 of the season, it would be like January if it was in this season.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, that's decidedly too late. Okay, well let's play extremes then. Do you guys think you should get a dinar on the first week of the season? You think that's too early?
I think that's too early.
Okay, what about a month?
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting the dinar. It's just like as long as you can't upgrade it. If it just like starts at normal, say.
Well, you could
upgrade it.
You could upgrade it with
crests, right?
With crest, yeah.
So you can just like upgrade it the moment you get it. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I assume so. Yeah. I mean, it's just going to have 16 upgrade tracks, and if you have enough flight stones, and boy, the flight stones you would need, or valor stones to get that thing to max would be thousands. But
that's gonna hurt. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you could get it right. I'm just trying to think like when.
I feel like 2.5 months is when
a month ago from right now in the season. Something like that would have felt like right, because that's when I really started hearing people being like, I don't have mythic spy masters and it's really bad. Mm-hmm. And that would just like solve that problem, right? And I think that's a realistic amount of time to play in the season.
Yeah, I would say agree.
Like right around when Hall of Fame is closing.
Yeah, that actually sounds right too.
That would have been maybe a little bit. Actually, that would have been around that time, but this was a late closing cutting edge or Hall of Fame, and also depends on if you count the Hall of Fame as when the first 200 guilds killed it, or when Blizzard gave that extra for fun bonus week after that happened. This time around, did you guys catch that drama?
I did. I heard that was happening. Like everyone thought it was ending, and then it was like, surprise! There's an entire other week of Hall of Fame. I think that's maybe good because I did hear from a few people in my stream that that is actually the demarcation point. Like that's the point of the season when they stop trying. Like if their guild can get Hall of Fame, it's like that's a lock in. Like everyone's like focused.
Yeah.
And as soon as that goes away, it's like a bit of the. I mean, totally makes sense. Like some of the motivation for the season goes away. That's like a goal. Which so them extending it is kind of a good thing, right? Like more people just got to be happy, maybe, right?
Yeah, I have no like super strong feelings about it. I've heard some people, feel like it was cheapened or whatever, which I don't know. I don't.
That's gonna happen 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I sort of get that, right? Like it's like they said, it's supposed to be first 200, and then obviously like you can be outside of the first 200 and do it in the same reset. And then like it does feel kind of weird that it's like, okay, or if it's really late in the reset when it gets filled, we'll give it an extra reset, kind of unexplained the exact criteria. I don't know. I don't care enough. I'm happy. Like I hope that most of the guilds that killed it are happy that they did in that week. That was, that's still extremely impressive, a really hard boss. So
yeah.
I'm not trying to be out here, saying, yeah, Hall of Fame should only be 20 slots or whatever. That's not me.
I kind of like the renown raid track thing though. I think when renown is done well, it's a really really good form of reputation. And I think tying in the raid buffs and the Dinars and every other thing about that just gives you something to look forward to every week to like unlock. And even though maybe all those things have existed separately, like the raid skips and all of those are on timelines. They get them per week, but seeing it all in one place, I think makes a ton of sense. I think it's really smart.
So the other part about it as well is the flavor is just, I mean, I know you guys aren't huge, like, but this one it seems like it's on another level of the flavor just being on point, right? It's
Ante-up, yeah.
It's literally the Galagio loyalty rewards track, right? And then you go in and you get profession tables vendors, crafting order specialists at the top floor of the hotel. Can we get that to go? You get to consume food faster in there. Then you become a loyal customer. You get a token of appreciation. You could get cartel jumper cables to res outside of combat. So, nice. And then when you get the next level of your raid buff, you upgrade your Galagio rewards card to gold, increasing your damage and healing, and then you upgrade it again to platinum, and then you upgrade it to black, and then to diamond. I mean,
it's just this whole season. I feel like just the theme they went with and how hard they committed to the bit of that theme, it makes me really excited for this patch. I feel like I went back and looked. Throne of Thunder was the last time I felt like an entire patch and everything that was going along with it, like, filled a theme as well as what they're trying to do with this patch. Like I feel like no patches in recent years have seemed as cool as what they're trying to do. And the mounts. So have you seen the mount off the last boss? It's like
it's amazing.
It's like if you take the nostalgia away, it's just like new Mim's head. It is like a top 10 mount in the game. It is a floating head that's smoking a cigarette with machine guns on the side that you'll be flying. I mean, that's just crazy. Right. Have you seen the little like robot yellow tiger mount too that they showed in the trailer?
No.
It is huge and it looks insane. I will find a picture of it.
They also, dude, the Keystone Master Mount isn't a recolor of the Season 1 Keystone Master Mount? Like, what is happening here? That's never happened before. That's crazy. It's actually a really cool Keystone Master Mount.
I will find this mount.
Dude, I hope they release some kind of loot box this season. That'd be super fitting and it would make big money.
That's true.
I found it.
Good comms.
Here it is. In Discord.
Okay, I'll pull it up with the technology. Oh my god.
Look at that mount. That's not even a gnome. So like that's not even one of the bigger mount models you could get. That thing is massive.
That is
sick. And then the cutting edge mount, also incredible.
It just seems like I know the theme is really carrying hard, but like I even saw a few of the devs like tweeting about this when this got announced today, and they're like, "This is the most proud I've ever been of a patch." Like everyone at Blizzard is cooking on this shit, and it definitely feels like that.
Yeah, there's also they put it in the set bonuses as well, so this is something that was, I would say. Initially, I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, this is super lazy." I actually think the concept is sweet.
I think it's amazing.
Some of the set bonuses I think are super bad, but a lot of them I think
as
are
always
really cool. Yeah, and that's like not a
so
basically what
let
they're
them
doing
know.
is
Yeah.
all of the 2 sets are. They're not actually the same, but they all.
Same keywords.
Each role has a keyword, and they function very similarly to each other. So all of the ranged DPS ones, which is the best ones, are jackpot. And so every 2 set for every ranged DPS class is you have a chance to hit a jackpot, which does something cool of your class, and then casting your major CD always hits a jackpot as well. So for AUG, for instance, when you proc a jackpot, you get a 100% upheaval, 100% effective upheaval that does not knock enemies up. And then casting Breath of Eons always hits a jackpot, right?
And then everyone's 4-piece interacts with that 2-piece in a very unique way that makes it like unique to the spec. Obviously, they're like varying power levels and varying cool in design. But like when this initially got announced, before we like go into some of the individual ones that are cool, because I don't think they're all built the same. Like a lot of the 2-pieces for the different roles, like some of them are a little more problematic than others. But when I first read this, it was like, oh, that seems like a little lazy. And then I thought about it more. And also they didn't post them yet. We just heard before we actually could read them all. It was just a Wowhead headline, like all 2-pieces. There's like basically 4 total 2-pieces in the game. And everyone's like, that's super lazy. Fuck Blizzard. I'm mad. Like kind of shit. And that was prevailing. That always prevails also late in a patch when the only people paying attention are the people that are like really jaded. So that usually comes away with it. But I think it's actually such a good idea because here, okay, what is a normal 2-piece? What, like Blade Dance does 10% more damage? Maybe in the best case scenario, it's setting up a good 4-piece. That's what a 2-piece is. It's very bland, or it is directly setting up the 4-piece. And I would argue the ones that set up the 4-piece usually are the coolest versions of tier. Well, that's what they've done this time. They've made every single like 2-piece just be a setup for the 4-piece, and the 4-pieces make it feel unique enough that you're not going to like play different classes and be like, oh, it's the same 2-piece. Like, I feel like 2-pieces are super basic anyway. And if you are someone making tier at Blizzard, I think it's very obvious for a few of us that like look at tier every single season and you kind of look at how good every classes are. There's a bunch of really great ones and there's a lot of stinkers and a lot of stuff that's mid. Well, you know what? If they, instead of making 39 2-pieces, they actually only need to, there's usually only like maybe 6 or 7 really good ones. Well, maybe they can take a couple of those good ideas and now you're spreading out 3 or 4 good ideas across the entire game, and the average quality is just higher. And that is definitely the opinion I came away with after reading all of them. Some of them definitely miss, but I think these are maybe some of the most quality tier pieces I've seen, like reading through all of them. Some of them hit so hard, and I think I could see how it came away as lazy. I think the theme is so strong that the theme is probably what led them to this, but I still think it owns.
I think Jackpot is by far and away the best. Like every single Jackpot one that I read was like, this seems so fun. And it's not surprising, right? It's like you have a chance to proc something cool and your major CD always does that, right? And so it's like every time you hit your major CD, you're just going to be like, I mean, look at like Destro Lock, for instance, right? Destro Warlock is so you have a chance to hit a jackpot that fires 12 Demon Fire bolts at 200% effectiveness. Casting Infernal always hits a jackpot, and then your 4 set is hitting a jackpot, gives you 3% mastery, and your spells gain maximum benefit for mastery for 10 seconds. So it's like you're gonna hit these procs, you're gonna shoot out these Demon Fire bolts randomly, and then whenever you hit Infernal, it's like a Giga Infernal, right? You're gonna get insane mastery value. So like Jackpot, I think clear A+. Winning Streak is the
super
melee
problematic
one. So some of these I think are really cool, and some of these I think are
horrible.
beans.
Yeah,
and actually, to me, the variable that I was really worried about some of these is some of them have a different spell get increased by the winning streak than what has a chance to remove it.
Correct.
So
like overpower and like obliterate. Yeah, like things that are not actually buffing it.
So
like,
we can compare Frost and Unholy DK, for instance. So Frost DK, your spells and abilities have a chance to activate a winning streak. That's shared between all melee DPS. And for Frost, Winning Streak increases the damage of your Frost Strike and Glacial Advance by 2%, stacking up to 5 times. Obliterate has a 15% chance to remove Winning Streak. So some of your spells are going to do more damage, and then you're going to lose that randomly sometimes.
And there's a lot of RNG. Like, you could hold it for a while, but the entire bit of all the 4 pieces is, hey, when that winning streak comes to an end, or, you know, it goes away by getting reset, you get this... Well, the really
not
good
Frost DK.
Yeah, exactly. Not Frost DK. The good ones say you get this crazy fucking benefit. Like Ret Paladin's fucking insane. But like read the Frost one. Like the Frost one is so mid.
The 4 set is Winning Streak stacks 3 additional times. So now we're talking about 16% increased damage of Frost Strike and Glacial Advance.
On 2 very not hard hitting abilities. Yeah.
And while you're on a winning streak, your Frost Strike and Glacial Advance have a chance to cast a 50% effective Frost Scythe, which now also benefits from winning streak. So just this is like the most mid set bonus I've seen, right? Or like and I think it's going to create some really unfun gameplay where it's like, oh man, I really want to press an Obliterate, but I'm on a winning streak, and if I press it, I might lose my winning streak. So I kind of want to hold out and press another Frost Strike or something. And
any of them that promote that gameplay is so bad. Yeah.
Now, there are two types of winning streak that I think are good, though. Unholy is an example of one type of good one. So Unholy winning streak increases your Death Coil and Epidemic by 3%, stacking up to 10 times, and Death Coil and Epidemic have a chance to remove it. So here there's no tension, right? The same spells that benefit from winning streak are the ones that remove it. There's no way to benefit from it without having a chance of removing it.
Yeah.
So that removes that kind of weird feeling. And then the 4 set says casting Dark Transformation grants up to 10 stacks of winning streak. And while it's active, the effectiveness of winning streak is increased by 100%, and it no longer has a chance to reset.
Which is insane.
So this one gives you full value guaranteed during your CDs
every
at all time.
45 seconds.
This one, the 4 set mitigates the RNG, and I think that's cool. There's other ones where the 4 set like leans into the RNG further.
Well, before you even go to that one, like the Unholy one, think about the difference between something like Death Coil and Epidemic versus Frost Strike. Like Death Coil, there's a lot of talents that support Death Coil that make them cleave, that make them hit harder, that will get insane value. Like your damage meter will have a different breakdown because of that 4-piece, right? Whereas Frost just seems so mid. The Outlaw is crazy.
And obviously Outlaw in a gambling tier should have a very gambling theme. Like this should be the most RNG one, and it is. So winning streak gives you 6% damage of Dispatch stacking up to 5 times, and Dispatch has a chance to remove it. And then Roll the Bones has a 12% increased chance of granting additional combat enhancements, and also gives you a stack of winning streak for each combat enhancement granted. Stacks applied by Roll the Bones can exceed the normal winning streak maximum of 5. So you could hit a 6 buff and get to 11 stacks of winning streak and have
you're going to the
66% increased dispatch damage. So like this is obviously extremely RNG, but at least when you hit, you hit. Whereas when Frost hits, it's like, oh, I'm doing 16% increased Frost Strike damage, baby.
Look at Rep Paladin for an example.
Rep Paladin's sick.
Rep Paladin is the perfect example of how this should feel because it's Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm by 2, stacking up to 10 times. Those are your 2 main finishers. That's all of your damage, getting a 20% damage buff. So naturally, and those are also the ones that have a chance to remove it. So what the 4 set needs to say is, when my finishers are losing their damage by pressing it, I need to gain something crazy. And here's what it says. When you lose your winning streak, you get the last holy power spent back. So you're going to go from like 5 back to 5 or 3 back to 3. And for 4 seconds, you cannot lose holy power, and the damage of your holy power abilities are increased by 10%. So you're getting these mini burst windows, right? Like anytime you fail, it's like you should feel like, oh shit, I lost my stacking damage buff. You're going to stack it back up instantly. In 5 seconds, you're going to get 5 of these stacks back, right? Or it's a chance to activate, but like you're going to just be spamming. You're going to have a mini damage window. You also get random wings proc, so like that can line up. Like that's another example of giving you a good way to capitalize on losing something that you want, and I feel like is another really well-made one. But
yeah, so I'd say winning streak, hit or miss. Some of them are really good hits, and some of them are just at least. I don't want to be too negative without having played with it, but the Frost Decay one seems abysmal to me.
Yeah, it's really bad. And
what
about the tank one? Oh, let's do the tank one. Yeah, so the tank ones are actually one that when I tanked, I think are really fascinating. So like, I think tanks that can randomly proc defensives, or even if you guys are a DPS, like playing deep rooted elements or any of the like things that will just randomly proc like your offensive ability for a few seconds, those are always really fun to me because I love improvising and I feel like it just gives you a sense of improvising. Like if you're a raid tank, you kind of just use the same cooldowns every single time on a pull. But what's really fun is like if you can proc a wall, and that's what this tank one is basically every single tank's shield wall ability, whatever that is, right, has a chance to you just get it for 4 to 6 seconds, depending on the tank. I love that because like if you're a tank, you could definitely want to use it. But if you get a proc during that and you normally have to use something there, now you don't because you got that proc. And now you're like, oh, well, maybe I can save this last stand or something for something later that's really dangerous. And that makes every pull not feel the same. And as a tank, I like love that. But some of the 4-piece bonuses are definitely not built the same. Like look at Prop Paladin, for example, right?
That one looks fun. Like
that one is amazing. Like
yeah.
you'll get a random Guardian of the Ancient Kings proc. All right, cool. But then once that happens, while you have it active, your main spender that also does a ton of fucking damage, by the way, is going to refund either all or 30% or 60% of its holy power. and you're just going to kind of be machine gunning. And also, every time you machine gun, the thing that does all your damage and gives you defensiveness is also increasing the duration of the Guardian Ancient Kings you have on you, right? That
Well, it's just the luck of the draw,
No, it's just
is a damage
buff,
done
right?
increase. You're only ever getting 4 seconds of Guardian.
Okay,
That
no, you're
sounds
right.
mega broken if you're gonna get up to 10-second extension on Guardian's Ancient King.
Oh, that's how I
Yeah.
read it. Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
will
it is
get, so
still
you'll get 15% damage amp for probably 12 or 13 seconds, and you'll get like you'll get to spam a bunch of Shield of the Righteous, you'll be doing a bunch of damage. I think that the damage side, like the Prop Pally one looks like a fun, damaging tank one. Most of the other ones look to me like pretty unfun damaging ones, and have, I would say the defensive value of each time you take damage, you have a chance to activate your shield wall for 4 seconds, and it's 4 seconds for all of them except for Brew, I think. Brew gives you 6 seconds of Fort Brew. It's pretty minimal. Like, it's pretty rare that 4 seconds of your wall is gonna happen at a time where that can affect your planning. Like, obviously, it might randomly save you some of the time. I think Mythic Plus, in Mythic Plus pools, it's a little bit more often going to be really valuable. But particularly if you're raid tanking, like, this is going to proc off the environmental damage that all the bosses have these days,
when you're
right?
not tanking, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, Ansarek is always, she's doing nature or shadow damage every 2 seconds or whatever to the whole raid, so this is going to proc off of that even when you're not tanking. And when you are, like, what are the odds this is going to line up with the Ansarek's big tank busters, right? It's pretty minimal. It's unlikely that's ever going to let you, like, really change your, like, really get to do all that much improvising. That probably will happen in, like, I don't know, 1 out of every 20 pools or something like that. With
Mythic Plus, though, definitely more often.
I think it'll be more fun
than
than Plus. And then again, I think the Prop Pally one is just a fun damage one, independent, like ignoring the damage or the defense value. Some of them I think are a lot more anemic even as damage ones. So like the Prop Warrior one, for instance, you get 4 seconds of shield wall, you get 15% damage done increase for 10 seconds, and during that, Shield Slam's crit chance is increased by 50%, and its crits reduce the cooldown of shield charge by 6 seconds. So they actually reduced the chance of Shield Slam resetting itself this patch, which is a pet peeve of mine, is whenever they nerf a spec, and then they make the set bonus interact with whatever they nerfed. Always feels bad. But this is going to be like, so this is going to proc, and then you're going to get 15% damage done, which doesn't feel like anything for 10 seconds. And then you're going to get like 1 extra shield charge maybe, or like 18 seconds off your shield charge, 24 seconds off your shield charge. So it's like, I don't know. I think the defensive value of these is very minimal, which is weird for tank set bonuses, but kind of understandable. It's a lot easier to balance damage than it is defensiveness.
It's weird for good ones. Like we've talked a lot about how tank bonuses, it's really hard to put an exact value on it, because like healers bonuses are based on how much it amplifies your healing. Damage bonuses, it's like how much damage you do, right? And if it's too strong, it's very easy to identify that and nerf it. Tank ones are giving you damage historically, and also can buff your defensiveness at such a power level to where, like, I mean, the most broken tier set bonuses ever are almost exclusively tank ones, because you can just get more out of it. And I wonder if another symptom of this is, and it may be a good thing, like giving all the tanks the same 2-set does kind of balance tanks. Like, hasn't there been an issue where you go into patches and basically like the meta tank is just the one that got a crazy fucking tier bonus, and then they lose it next patch and they're not good anymore because they relied on that so heavily? And now it's kind of equaling this, like no tank has a crazy tier bonus, but in a way that makes tank balance potentially better. But also it's not fun, because like if you're a multi-classing tank, which a lot of tanks are, you can just gravitate to the tank that patch that happens to have the super crazy tier bonus, and right now none of them really do. So maybe that also feels bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like these ones aren't going to be particularly fun as tank players, but I feel like Jackpot would have been the design that would have been sick for tanks as well. But Jackpot, obviously only one person can have Jackpot. I do have a pitch though. I've been cooking up. Here's how I would make Luck of the Draw work. So I'd make it so that each time you take damage, you have a chance to gain a stack of Luck of the Draw. And so you just get a stack of it. It doesn't do anything by itself. And then when you press your major CD, for each stack of Luck of the Draw you have, you get to draw one card. Sick. So if you have like 4 stacks, you get to draw 4 cards. If you have 8 stacks, you get to draw 8 cards. And the highest card that gets drawn in that is how many seconds of extra extension you get, and how many seconds of damage done increase you get. So the more cards, you're going to flip more cards, but it's still always a bit of RNG, a little bit of gambling type thing, a little bit of a card theme. And then you get to control it by when you press your major CD, which, you know, that gives you the kind of fun tank gameplay of, you can use it offensively, right? You can use your shield wall with your offensive CDs if you want to go ham, or you can use it for defensive value and get a longer shield wall when you need it. That That's my pitch. If there's any Blizzard men,
I'm
listening.
a huge fan of that.
I think my problem with that is, well, two things. One is if you're off tanking, then you don't gain stacks, right? Which is kind of
you still gain stacks from the environmental damage.
How these
typically.
stacks probably work is there's some kind of RPPM thing. Like if you're getting 1,000,000 ticks of environmental damage, they probably don't want you to just get 1,000,000 extra stacks of this. It's more like if you're getting a bunch of infrequent hits, you would just get them more often to proc. It's like deck of card random kind of. So I don't think that would really matter off tanking unless there was actually 0 damage. But usually you have like a residual dot, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're relying on that, then like, how would that really be any different? Because isn't it just like you're passively getting stacks?
Well, you get stacks and then you consume them when you press your major CD, rather than
I was talking more about
random.
the 2-piece part. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, because I just think that the random procs of this are going to feel pretty lackluster.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Especially like, dude, there's nothing worse than proccing a shield wall or a meta or something when you don't need it. Like, it feels like absolutely, and that's like all the defensive value of this is in that proc. The rest of it is just pure damage, and damage. There are a lot of tank situations where damage doesn't actually feel like anything.
That is something Blizzard tends to miss a lot with tanks, where it's like they'll occasionally have these random defensive procs, and it's just like not a very good situation for tanks.
Yeah, I think like resource procs are the ones that you can then turn into defensiveness kind of at your own pace, and those are the ones that I've enjoyed more.
Looking at the healer one, I think that is another one that's kind of interesting. Like they're all based on, your spells have a chance to apply this dot called insurance. And whenever that person has insurance on them, it'll consume it when they drop below 40% health to heal them just as a default. So like I found this to be really interesting because healer bonuses are like usually pretty powerful, and imagine they're all doing the same thing. Like when you're used to looking at raid frames, you're used to them doing a certain thing, right? But what's potentially going to happen next patch is anytime the raid is taking a ton of damage, when it hits that 40% mark, your raid health is probably going to like slingshot up 20% or more. And I think that's like really, really interesting. And you could totally play around that and like underheal and utilize the stacks of insurance before they fall off. I don't know. I think the healer one is kind of... none of us are healers, right? Maybe some of you healers are like, I don't think this will work really well, but they sound pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful effect, right? A hot that will instantly heal if you get low enough, right? Like that's an inherently powerful thing. I will say some of the 4 sets lean into that, and some lean away from that. So for instance, Resto Shaman, which is already a healer that works well when people are low on health, right? Like it's one of the most fundamental like progression healers for that. Because of and obviously it hasn't always been a good healer, but like the way that Resto Shaman Mastery works, it's always been something where if you're low on health, it's getting more value. And the Resto Shaman one is obviously all the 2 sets are exactly the same for all the healers, but the 4 set is when you cast Healing Rain, one ally gets insurance in the Healing Rain, and then when insurance is consumed, your next Chain Heal, Healing Surge, or Healing Wave is increased by 10%, right? And presumably the stacks of a bunch of insurances get consumed across your raid. So this one says when everybody's taking a lot of damage and therefore insurance is getting consumed, you're doing more healing, you're saving the raid more. Compare that to Priest. Both Holy and Disc actually have this. So Holy says Serenity and Sanctify apply insurance to one target while Apotheosis is active. Your healing is increased by 1% for each insurance active on allies. So Holy has the opposite thing going on, where if your insurances are getting consumed, you're doing less healing, right? If when you need it the most, you actually aren't getting value out of this because your insurances are getting consumed. I guess it's obviously still good that you're applying some free ones.
And
that are
same
getting...
thing with Disc.
Yeah, Disc as well, right? When shield is completely absorbed on an ally, they're granted insurance at 40% effectiveness. Allies with insurance or absorption effects receive increased healing from you. 15%. That's a lot of increased healing.
Yeah, much.
But they are never going to have it if they're actually about to die. Because if they're actually about to die, your powered shield is gone. The insurance is then procced, and then the insurance is gone, and now they're going to die, and they don't take extra healing from you. So I actually think the Resto Shaman one is going to be the best for progression.
Yeah, it needs to have like a residual effect for those increased healing bonuses that doesn't just fall off right away when it gets consumed.
Yeah, because I think the Holy and Disc ones are going to be great for like padding HPS when you're under healing.
Yeah, you never want the raid to get low.
Yeah. But then I think the Resto Shaman one is going to be really good for life saving. The Presevoker one's kind of sick as well, I think, for keys and for spot healing, which has been an identity that Presevoker, especially with Flame Shaper being able to give somebody else Renewing Blaze, really leaned into this tier. So the Prez 4 set is Verdant Embrace, gives you and your target insurance for 6 seconds, and its cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds. So in M+, you can just always give yourself and a target insurance. That seems really sick for a lot of M+ bosses. But then in Raid, it seems giga weak by comparison, right? Because this just doesn't scale with number of, like, Verdant Embrace is a lot weaker of a button relatively in Raid than it is in Keys.
I would bet a pretty good amount that Blizzard would make it. I'm just completely making this up. I think Preservation will not be good in Raid next patch because they were overwhelmingly too good in Raid in the first season.
That's true, yeah. No spec can be good for multiple tiers in a row except for mages, priests, paladins. Yeah, those are the ones. And warlocks. Everybody else, if you have one good tier, it's over for you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think overall,
sick.
It's so good, though. Like, I think these tier bonuses, I almost want them to, like, continue doing this. It's just my theory that coming up with 39 unique ideas every season, there's just going to be so many bad ones. And if you just can come up with a few and kind of cook a little bit on how classes can deal with those few really good ones, I feel like it is going to lead to higher quality. And in my opinion, I think these are like some of the higher quality tier sets that I've read in a long time. Like look at the BM one, man. Like all of them. Like also just the BM and MM like changes
the MM
have also
one is
been crazy.
So sick.
They're so insane. Like the MM one, when you get to the jackpot, your auto shot damage increased by 600% and also reduces the time by auto shots by 2. Most bows and crossbows are 2.6, so you're going to be machine gunning insane auto attacks. Also, their auto attacks reset things within their talent trees, and also consuming a lock and load is going to fire a 45-second cooldown that owns and does a ton of AoE damage and does 200% more. Like, I think they absolutely killed it with a lot of these sets.
I mean, jackpot is, I think, the obvious bangerist one.
Yeah,
it's just so, that looks so fun. It's like, it's fun procs and you always get it in your CD.
I will say there are a few jackpot ones that definitely come off to me as going to be extremely problematic to make good on single target because they're so focused on AoE. Frost Mage for one, right? It's like when you Frost Mage, when you hit a jackpot, it's going to do a Frostbolt volley to your target or 8 additional targets. And then Icy Veins causes it at 100% effectiveness every 10 seconds for 30. If that's good on single target, that is going to be the best Mythic Plus tier set ever, right? But the reality is it'll probably be completely irrelevant on like smaller targets, and maybe it'll be okay, right? There was another one that's exactly like that. I don't remember the class, but there's an exact example of another jackpot one where it's like, this is just an AoE set. We don't have to find it. It's just up there, yeah. All right, cool. Tier sets. Do you guys have the same opinion as me? I read that and I even had the like, wow, that's lazy. And then I actually read them and I'm like, okay, this is really smart.
Yeah, I initially, so my opinion of this was tainted by the fact that the first takes I saw on this were from people that I think are always complaining on Twitter, and they were complaining about it. So I kind of had a knee jerk like,
you had to combat that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then I read it for a little bit and I was like, okay, I read the first 2 that were spoiled and I was like, oh, these actually seem kind of, like I read the Holy Priest one and the Prot Warrior one, and I was like, oh, okay, hang on. these are kind of stinky. And, you know, I could see that. But then I saw this post and I read the jackpot ones, and the jackpot ones are super, super sick. The winning streak ones are like 80% sick, 20% stinker. The tank ones I do not like very much. And the healer ones, some seem pretty good, and some also I don't like very much. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool idea, though. I think that calling it a lazy idea, I don't think they look at set bonuses and are like, okay, we got to make 39 2 sets and 39 4 sets. I think for the most part, like, you just design a set bonus and then you you split it between the 2 and 4 as it makes sense anyways. And I don't actually think that this would have saved them a substantial amount of work or anything. In fact, I bet if anything, having to make every set bonus for every range DPS do something with a jackpot, or every melee DPS do something with a winning streak, that kind of restriction probably added more like time to some of these specs. Although some of them I imagine were free. So I don't know. I don't think this was lazy. I do think it's cool. I like them experiment. Like if they're going to do set bonuses every tier, I like that a lot. I like some of them, you know, every time they're like, okay, this tier we're doing something different with it. Here's what it is. I think that's cool. I'm here for it. So
It's also just super thematic. Like they clearly, you can just tell that like when we saw this theme, we were super excited. And I think the more we learn about this patch, like Blizzard devs clearly just went all in on like, this is sick. Let's do everything super casino like. We haven't been able to do this. Dorky, you cool with the tier sets?
Yeah, I mean, you guys know how I feel about tier set. I'm not like a huge tier set enjoyer, but like at least it's like a step in the right direction. Well, for me at least. Like I can see why there's so much outrage about tier sets, because for one, you got to realize a lot of people are looking at only their class specific tier sets. So if they're looking at like Frosty, for example, they're like, this is dog shit, right? And the other part to it is, for the longest time, tier sets have always been something that's super transformative, something that's like a major borrowed power for this season. Like, you know, if you get a tier set, you're usually jumping from like 5 to 10% for your 2 set, and then another 5 to 10% for your 4 set. Especially during Legion. Like I remember during Legion, the tier sets were like powerful and flavorful, but they were also like hard to acquire. And I personally never enjoyed that type of tier set. Now, I know a lot of people do, and I've like voiced my opinions on this before. I've talked about how like it changes how your class from season to season, and some seasons you might like your class a whole lot more, sort of like the whole Havoc Demon Hunter Throwglaive thing back in season 3 Dragonflight.
which that one's going into the talent tree now. W Blizzard.
Yeah, that's a W. And yeah, I mean, now that they're just a little bit more simple, a little bit easier to balance, I'm okay with it, but that's just because I play the game competitively rather than caring about player power.
Yeah. So speaking of acquisition, they are doing a little bit with tier change acquisition as well.
Oh, yeah, dude, that one's a huge L. Holy fuck, people are not happy about that one.
Oh, interesting. Super interesting.
So you get a catalyst charge instead of an Omni token now for the.
Yeah, it's so bad.
But so before how it was is in week 1 you would get a catalyst charge natty, and then you could do any of these 3 things. You could get, I think it's 1600 in PvP. You can get AOTC in the raid, and you can get 2K in Mythic Plus. And by doing any of those things, it will award you 1 Omni token, which does not require a previous piece of gear to create into that tier piece. It just generates 1. But then you only get 1, which means that you need to wait until week 3 to get 4 piece. If
You
it
still
takes
only
you
get 1.
Yeah.
Oh, did I read
bad
it wrong?
news, buddy.
Oh, I thought it was
You didn't
get
read it
1
wrong.
for all
They
3.
wrote it wrong.
Oh, they
So
wrote
they
it wrong.
initially
All they
wrote
did
it
was-
with the word each, and then they changed it to just completing the feat of strength gives you 1 additional catalyst charge. So
Okay, yeah.
So you're
Big
straight
L.
up just getting like some dog
Huge
shit
L.
ass.
it's instead of getting an Omni token, you
jeez.
got a catalyst charge now, which is just a straight up nerf.
Just
to
means you
that.
have to create.
You'll have to
like,
find a base.
You have
You're
to.
losing
You have.
one
You have
hero
to
piece.
find a base piece. Yeah, actually, this is interestingly. I think this is super niche, not relevant. It's a Race World first gear buff. I'm pretty sure because like our characters have full heroic tier already, so the catalyst charges didn't really, or the like Omni tokens didn't really do anything. So like you now are going to get a mythic. You're going to get like a mythic tier upgrade for free, kind of because of this change. But that's like very
only
not
if you're doing
relatable.
enough splits to get.
It's
full
extremely
heroic
not
tier on everybody.
relatable. But,
Dude, when they had this first one announced, I was so happy though for a bit because it would have been so sick if I think my guild would have gone
It was
down
too
to
good
1
to
or
be
maybe
true.
2 characters instead of
you would have
3.
had 4 piece
'Cause-
instantly.
Yeah, we like this would have killed splits for us, which would have been so sick.
Damn,
Like,
I wish they would do that because
Yeah.
I think it like properly rewards people for playing all different kinds of the game. We've talked about Shadowlands Season 1. A lot of PvEers enjoyed PvPing. A lot of PvPers loved slaughtering PvEers. Like everyone was like, by having to interact with other parts of the game, it was like kind of a good thing. And by getting you 1 from each, you would be super incentivized to like play every kind of game mode. And I don't know, part of that I like a lot.
Yeah, although I
What
guess
the
for
hell,
Race World
Blizzard?
first, it would have literally given you guys full mythic tier catalyst. Like you
That
would
is
have
true.
infinite
We would have had
catalyst
full.
charge.
We would have had full mythic tier. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is definitely something.
Yeah.
Dude, but think about it.
fuck.
Like
Why'd they
PvP would
change
actually be popping off in the first month.
Yeah. I mean, it would be so much fun though, and you could literally.
Why'd
like,
they
you-
change
you,
it?
You would play. You could play one character, just one character, and like get full heroic 4 piece if you were a normie. No, I mean obviously you can't be that much of a normie and get AOTC and 1600 and Keystone Master in the first few weeks. Like that's extremely hardcore in the scheme of things, but you could do all like this would finally create some sort of incentive to go deep on one character instead of wide on a bunch of characters. to do splits with to get more gear for your main. So I don't know. Again, it's a couple hundred guilds in the world that are facing that incentive, but I think this would have been a lot better.
Do you know why they?
Why did they nerf it?
My only thought for why they did this is like, as a developer, you want all of your like systems to like kind of make sense, and they're like, why would we have Omni tokens in this game when the Catalyst is like already a thing? And maybe they just felt like it should be the same, but maybe didn't think about the interaction.
So
well, I mean, I can see why. Like,
yeah, it's like it's more elegant in a sense, but also like, what about the Omni token that the last boss drops? Is that just gone now, or is that still going to exist?
Maybe I haven't said anything about it. So
is the last boss going to drop like 2 items that can be consumed for a catalyst charge by people?
I think reducing tier acquisition. This doesn't technically reduce your ability to get tier acquisition. It just kind of adds like basically one of your off pieces you would get from Mythic Plus dungeon can now just be a tier piece, and maybe it costs you some like heroic crests, which you kind of don't need pretty early in the season, but like that. Why would you take the Omni tokens away? Like, you want to make tier acquisition harder. Like, I feel like we actually have finally gotten to a place. I actually asked my chat this, and right now my chat's pretty negative because the people still listening to WoW content are generally like more negative later in the season because it's like their friends have stopped playing and it feels dead and stuff like that. So like, I was like, did you guys feel like you got tier in an adequate amount of time this tier? And when I've asked them that over like when they came back in Shadowlands and Sepulchre and like that the answer was like, vastly, it took way too long to get tier. Obviously back then the Catalyst came out I think like 6 weeks after the patch or something, but like, or maybe 8, but now it was resounding yeses. There wasn't even like someone trolling and saying no. So like, we're at the point finally where people feel like they're getting tier fast enough, so why would you remove that? I think they're gonna be
I don't think it's to slow down tier acquisition. I think it's strictly because it was way too hard to interface. Like, I don't know if you've heard about like people who have picked the wrong choice, because like, have you ever like visited a vendor and just like looked at like, why are there so many different options? And
somebody in my guild has different people in my guild have bought the PvP one each season.
Really? There's no way.
I'm
sure they probably get like a shit ton of support tickets, and they're probably like tired of it, just everyone just fucking up, because like it's kind of like the whole crafting the wrong item, right? Like, it's a similar situation, and I don't know. I mean, this just feels terrible. I wish they would do something that would help the players that relied on this to acquire a heroic piece. Like, look, it's not going to affect us, right? Like us three, we're not going to be using some.
It's realistically the same thing, right? Like,
it is realistically
to actually get this achievement, you have to get either Keystone Master, and therefore you have you've done every dungeon. You have a bunch of hero track gear. Like, you can farm here. If you can get Keystone Master, you can get hero track gear because you're doing keys that give hero track gear. AOTC, which drops hero track gear, or rated PvP, in which case you might not have hero track gear, but you have gear that upgrades in PvP item level, and you're a PvPer if you care about that, right? So I guess unless you were a PvEer that found your best way of getting this achievement to be the PvP one, you're always going to have access to hero track gear to catalyze. And this is actually, in many cases, going to be a buff for players that do also have access to myth track gear, because you can now use this catalyst charge on a myth track piece. So I actually don't think this is really that much of a nerf. It's like a quality of life nerf, but it's not a power level nerf, right? Like, you're still going to be, you can be unlucky and just, have to do like 10 more keys to actually find stupid hero track gloves or whatever to catalyze if that's what you want, instead of just being able to buy the gloves from the vendor. But it's not actually going to be lower item. Like, you can never earn this feat of strength without doing the stuff that gives hero track gear anyways, and you might be doing stuff that gives myth track gear to catalyze.
I'll say a couple of things. So one is, that's not entirely true, because a lot of people are straight up buying like the 619 equivalent of this patch. Like, you can jump to the end,
right? Okay, so you can save ruined crest,
the token, which is like a pretty massive deal. And like, I know I was one of the people doing this, for saving crest, and it's like really big early on. And I think secondly, there's also a lot of people who don't necessarily chase the grind. Like, they will get KSM, and then they don't really want to be like having to chase after a glove to get. It's like a pretty common thing amongst the more casual players, especially if they're not too interested into M+. And also,
the Omni
just
token
like
was nice
just,
flexibility, right? Because like you literally just, whatever slot didn't drop for you, you could fill with the Omni token. That was nice, but it is actually relevant power level that this is an extra mythic catalyst that you can use early on in the patch. Like, that's probably going to be the way that a lot of players that earn this in the first few weeks will now try and angle to do this with. And So our characters are actually going to be a little bit better than they would have been with the Omni token, thanks to that, potentially. It's just, again, you're going to have to actually farm the gear more from the keys. The ruined crests, like you said, I mean, it depends on if you're the kind of, like, how long ruined crests stay relevant for you in the patch. Definitely, if you're ever sending them on upgrading stuff up to the level you can get from M+, that's like a huge blunder that the Omni token sort of helped you get away with a little bit more, and you're definitely going to want to make sure you don't do that. But I don't know. I think this is like a small... yeah, I would say a small quality of life nerf, and then in some cases actually a small power level buff. And I think it is understandable that they want to simplify things. I'm curious to see what they'll do with the end boss Omni token, because I think this doesn't make sense unless they've also found a way to remove that.
Yeah, but if they did that, I feel like that would be a massive...
Yes.
Big bad. Don't do that.
If that's gone, I'm big sad. I do think it could just drop an item that gives you a catalyst charge, right? Like, if Answer X just dropped 2 consumable catalyst charges, that could
would be
work, right?
So broken for the race.
Yeah, it would be crazy for split runners for sure. But
holy shit,
I don't know. I'm mixed on this for sure.
Did you guys see that? Go ahead, Dorky.
I was gonna say, like, this is gonna be a plus for me, right? Like, I don't mind this, but I'm just like, I understand why a lot of people are not happy about this for sure. A lot of people relied on that source of hero.
Again, the flexibility was just really nice, right? It was nice that it just always filled that slot that you couldn't get to drop, and now that's going to be potentially more M+ runs you got to do to find the stupid gloves.
You can get Gilded crests from Delves now, right?
You already can get Gilded crests from Delves in the current patch, which is something that people didn't realize.
It's really rare for you to get.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
You need to get maps. Yeah, you gotta get maps.
Yeah, which is one of the. So there's a new source though from it for Delves, but one of the things I saw. So when this post first came out, a lot of people were reading it as like the Delver's Bounty thing. They didn't know what this was. This is literally in the game right now. You can get Gilded Crest from Delver's Bounties in tier 8 and up. The thing that's new is you can also get it from Delve's Gilded Stash in a tier 11, which presumably is like just if you can farm 11s, you can get Gilded Crests. I actually think this is probably not good. Like, tier 11s are not fun. That content is a giga slog, and it's extremely like roll and spec dependent. Like, doing it, for instance, for me on my Blood Decay is very easy. Doing it on like a mid-geared Blood Decay face rolls tier 11s right now, and a mid-geared like Shadow Priest or whatever is brutal. Now, Brand can tank next season, so maybe that'll make this kind of more free, but I think it'll still be a slog. So I kind of feel like this creates an incentive to run 11s, which is bad because 11s aren't fun. But if they can make 11s fun, then I'm actually totally fine with this. I think
brand tanking is going to solve a big problem with most of the classes that really stink in Delves are ones that are not designed to ever tank any melee attacks, and that like feels like shit. So I think
that sounds like such a slog though. Having brand tank, like, no offense to brand, but goddamn, brand tank sounds.
Yeah, but also you have to like it's just better to farm them from dungeons now too, right? So
yes, they buffed the Gildeds from dungeons by so much that I actually don't like the amount that you get from a Delver's Bounty is so small. You get 2 Gilded Crests or 3 or something from each Delver's Bounty you get, which is an RNG drop. So you get something like if you're farming bountiful +8s, which you can only do 4 of per day, you get some. I think you're getting something like 1 Gilded Crest or 2 Gilded Crests a day on average from that. And you can't even, you run out of keys eventually as well. But then the Gilded Stash might be an okay source. Again, I actually don't have a problem. My main thing is that I hope that they pick a number of Gilded Crests from this where it feels like it's not too low, but also not high enough that it's like a better source than dungeons, which the fact they buff the dungeons ones means I actually don't think there's too much danger of that. And the other thing I hope they do is that they really look at it and they make sure that 11s are fun. Because right now 11s aren't fun and that doesn't matter. And next season 11s being fun will matter.
Like, what would you do to make it fun?
I don't know, man. Nerf I would nerf the white swings on a lot of these mobs. I would make 11s more about like I'd add some more swirlies or stuff to dodge and make it less about like just numbers checking all these stupid mobs, and maybe add some like soaks or some other mechanics like that to this, like turn it into a little bit more of like a little mini challenge mode or like mage tower type vibe with some more like mechanical stuff going on, and again just a lot less of the like you're fighting a thing with 50 million health. It auto attacks for 300k. Your options are kite or or die or whatever. Like that's not something that I've had a lot of fun with doing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think delves in general just haven't been too exciting. I know that they weren't like designed for us, but I
I've
swear,
done a lot
like,
of delves.
after
I do delves all the
after
time.
looking at, okay, maybe not for you. Maybe you're a delve enjoyer.
I do it so I
delving-
can get my sockets in my vaults. That's if you do like one key and then one delve and then some world events.
Yeah.
That's a
Dude, that was
that's a
actually really
socket.
nice when you were able to do what was it called? Zekvir's Lair for free socket.
Oh yeah. God, I
No,
miss
but yeah,
him.
like after playing a bit of classic and playing some PoE, like not to be that guy, but like goddamn, like they could do solo content so much better.
Yeah.
And delves are just not the solution to that.
Delves though are a place where if they decided they wanted to make fun solo content, they now have the maps and the enemies and the stories where they could actually put those mechanics in. They just haven't done that yet. So at least the framework is there. Just kind of remains to be seen if they'll actually do it. Last time we had this with Torghast, they didn't. So I kind of feel like their vision of delves is pretty different than mine, though. So I don't know. It is what it is.
It is.
But yeah, I don't actually have a problem with this at all. The M plus Gilded change is so good. That's such a huge W.
Are you talking about from
The one that's live
last
this week.
whatever?
Yeah. Where you just get like twice as many Gilded.
Well, you also have the Gilded, the Harbinger of the Gilded achievement. So like, I feel like Harbinger of the Gilded plus the increase is fat. Crazy. Yeah. Like more than one upgrade per key run, which is really, really good.
Oh, it feels so good. Yeah.
Almost 2. Probably is 2 if you're doing 10s. Right?
I think, yeah, you get like 16 crests for timing a 10, so it's 1.6 upgrades if you've got Harbinger.
That's so good.
And it's still more than one upgrade if
you could do
yeah.
keys for a couple hours and your character will be like noticeably stronger. That's so good.
Yeah.
Boys,
it's crazy.
Augmentation is fucking extremely dead in Mythic Plus. It's gotta be.
I don't know
Is
if
it?
that's like, I know that's the reaction that everyone got and everyone was like celebrating it, but I'm personally not sold that it's entirely out. Which, I mean, maybe that's the goal.
It'd be really surprising to me. I was thinking about it a lot yesterday. Like, I don't play with them in high keys right now, but like them buffing the tanks and healers was extremely significant. And like that felt like it enabled, and in some seasons enabled those classes to do their roles a key level higher than they felt like they could, or comfortably. And just looking at the damage, even with the buffs, they like buffed closest clutch mates, so like it'll just be better than a raid buff. But just buffing 2 people, if you ever dropped a healer, they would be like super bis with the closest clutch mate buffs. But I think without a healer, it'd be so surprising if that out DPS someone. And the utility, like even Dev, like if Dev isn't a great Mythic Plus class, but like you're getting most of the same utility, and that damage nerf is gonna be real.
Yeah, so I've thought about this, and there's one really big reason why I think it might not be out, and something that you guys might not think about. It's because it means there's one less dog shit DPS players you have to think about. Like if there's you can have basically 2 really good DPS players, and you can just have an AUG, right? And that's the beauty of AUG. Like you don't
Right.
you guys will get it. It is hard to come by really good DPS players, so you can just have like I'm not saying that the dogs
That's probably why AUG
augmentation
exists.
of Vokers are dog shit, right? Like I'm sure they're all wonderful and extremely good and talented.
That's definitely
and
not what
players.
you mean, but yeah.
But the reality is, like, when you're trying to like find good DPS players to play with in your group, it's very easy to just like, all right, like we'll just find like a really good enhancement shaman and like a really good frost DK or like a really good boomkin or assassination rogue or whatever second DPS, and then we'll just get an AUG, right? And having to get another really good DPS is fucking tough. So that's like part of what makes AUG really good that people don't really think about. At least that's how I see it.
I still think though, like, okay, even if AUG is still good, I still think the way they nerf them is really good because they are a DPS class, and I don't think any DPS class in the game, this is not a hot take, but like I don't think any of them should just make tanking and healing significantly better. That's just a weird, stupid side effect of how AUG was supposed to work in dungeons, and I think them moving on from that is really good.
So you do still give your tank armor. You do still give verse buffs. Those still can affect tanks and healers as well, right? You're shifting.
The Ebonite was so big, though.
No,
the Ebonite is definitely most
doesn't
of
go
it.
on. It only goes on DPS, but that
it only goes on DPS. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you still make your DPS tankier though, right? Like, and you still have Zephyr and Wernstone and all this stuff.
Rescue shield.
I actually
like,
do
it's so
kind
big.
of think the rumors of Ogg's total death. It's probably now just like a fine option. And if its damage is good, I think if its damage is ever good, it's still better than anything else.
That's still so much healthier than like buffing the other roles, I think.
Yeah. I think this is like this is a great change, whether or not it makes Ogg suck, or it makes them good but not mandatory, or even if they're still great. And the thing is, if they're still great, they can just nerf them, right? You could just
the tuning knob's way more
closest clutch mates being there is like that you can literally just turn this into 20%.
There's a straight up tuning knob, and then also like imagine how can you quantify the value of like buffing healers and tanks? It's like an invisible number, right?
Yeah.
It's just like something you feel. So that's something that's impossible to tune. So like that, just removing that, I think is.
I do think there's some trouble here where like the tuning for Ogg over the year, or over the year, I guess, since it's only been out for a year and a bit. Is
that true? Has it? Has Ogg only been out for?
God, what was this time? This time last year was Amirdrasil, so yeah, it's been out for a year and a half or something.
It feels way longer than that. It's crazy.
Yeah, Ogg has aged me 10 years, I tell you. But yeah, okay, so it's still like I worry that them nerfing it to a point where, like, to this point, I hope it's still fun for the people that liked it in casual content when it first came out. I hope that's true, because I know there were a lot of people that was true for when it first came out, and I hope that the series of nerfs to it, that's still true. I suspect it is, because I suspect those people aren't as, like it doing 20% less value or whatever probably doesn't affect them too much, because they weren't they weren't enjoying it really for that reason anyways. So, but I hope that the fantasy of like buffing your tanks and healers as well wasn't an important part for those players. Obviously, I'm glad, because since Ogg has been out, I think there was a stat that of the like 2,000, so in the 4 seasons it's been out or whatever, the 2,000 top keys, the 500 from each of those seasons, it was in like more than 1,800 of those.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. And like probably if you were to not show 5 seasons, that's mostly from one season where they kind of fell out. If you were to look at the other 4, I think it would be almost 100%.
Yeah. It's been dominant it had more representation, I think, than 22 of the other 25 DPS specs combined or something.
Feels like Rogue and BFA.
Yeah,
or like Windwalker and Legion.
And that's been like a fundamental thing about the kit. And I do think the giving your tanks and healers value is a huge part of why it just was fundamentally always good. So hopefully this makes that no longer true. And hopefully they can now tune it so that the damage that it does means that it's a fine option at all key levels. I yearn
we
for
shouldn't
a day
want
where,
it to die. No one should want like it's just say like I know there's a lot of like built up, pent up, like in August taking my spot, and there's this Mythic Plus thing where like the people at the top, remember how angry people were at the God Comp classes? They didn't want them to be tuned fairly. They wanted them to be fucking ruined, right? They just
Ogs
wanted
are CEOs.
yeah, and so that, but I think like reasonably, no one should hope that something they're nerfing from the top should just be unplayably bad. You just hope that it's good and not always the best.
100%.
Yeah, like CEOs. But
speaking of,
I
go ahead.
What?
No,
I would be very surprised if Ogg goes away, and I hope there's one thing that Blizzard is listening closely to, and that is tanks and healers being complete dog shit. Because after this is gone, tanks and healers are gonna be extra dog shit. Like, can you imagine tanks and healers existing right now without augmentation of Vulgar? It would be a terrible world, and I hope by them nerfing closest cut, or was it?
They also nerfed those tank busters a little bit, so I think it's on their radar.
Yeah,
I hope that
they buffed tank threat as well.
Yeah, it's just like not enough, Like they gotta do something big about tanks and healers.
The goal should be
problem this season.
Like they should be looking at the M plus Q situation. They should be like, we're getting half as many tanks and healers signing up for keys as we need to. We should make tanking and healing more fun. Now, obviously, like DPSing is inherently more fun than tanking and healing for most players, right? Like that's just always going to be true. You can look at a game like Marvel Rivals, where it's 6 duelists or whatever every lobby, because nobody wants to tank or heal. Everybody wants DPS. The DPS is the fun stuff, right? But there are players that on the margins will play tank if tanking doesn't suck, and they've made changes to make tanking suck this expansion, and that was inexplicable and inexcusable, and they should revert those immediately, and they should make tanking fun. Like, they should make you powerful if you're a tank. You shouldn't have to be a god gamer to survive a key as a tank. You should, if you're a god gamer, you should be able to like survive with flying colors rather than barely survive. Yeah, exactly.
And do things maybe some others can't, but it shouldn't be. The opposite is the problem.
Yeah, like right now,
what's the worst,
if we're going into a key with like a mediocre tank, it's so bad. If you're going into a key with a mediocre Aug Evoker, it's fine. You're going to win. You're going to win by a lot.
Yep. Exactly. You know what's the worst? The worst is if you have roles that are always trying to take down the role that is like doing well. So an example of this is when Bear Tank was doing a shit ton of damage back in Shadowlands, right?
Yeah.
When it was doing a shit ton of damage, all the DPS players were complaining. They were like, what the fuck? How is this okay? Why is the bear out damaging me? And then they're just like not happy that the tank is performing well. And then in Dragonflight, when tanks were doing exceptionally well, healers are like, what the fuck? Like, why are tanks immortal? Like, let's nerf tanks. And guess what happened? This is like what it led to. Healers were just like not happy with the whole situation where tanks were immortal, and then they're just going in, doing these crazy pulls, and now the group has to suffer because of it. I don't know. It just feels like such a bad role imbalance, and there's always complaints from the community whenever one of these roles are doing good. But we need these roles to be good if people want to play them.
Yeah, hard to agree. I want to talk about some of the class change stuff they did, because I read a dev note that blew my mind. So speaking of augmentation in tanks, which are typically really high survivability, something we've pointed out on the podcast before is that Death Knight DPS actually have lower death statistics than every single tank, and Aug Evoker and Fire Mage and Rogues classes with cheat death, and they don't have anything like that. They're just natty, built like a house, and this is written from a developer. Currently, Frost and Unholy Death Knights are incredibly survivable, often boasting lower death rates than tanks and other specs. From a fantasy perspective, it makes sense that they're really strong, but we think it's too far, whatever. We fully expect Frost and Unholy DKs to continue being one of the more survivable specs, but this should bring them closer to a more sane level. That's a crazy thing to type. But it is so true. They are absolutely crazy unkillable. And now I think they're right. I think they're still going to be extremely unkillable. But I think the biggest one is probably the Veteran of the Third War nerf, right? Their max HP is going to take a big hit. They nerfed like their passive magic mitt, which just imagine having a passive 8% magic DR. That is crazy. And then they're nerfing their little absorb.
Maybe you can get around this if you play one of the allied races, because allied races don't have Veteran of the Third War. They have Veteran of the Fourth War. So maybe they forgot to nerf that as well. And it's a different name.
That's a thing?
Well, the allied races were after the Third War was over. The second wave of Death Knights, so they were in the fourth.
How do you not know that, Max? Yeah, you know.
I do know that. That's very core WoW knowledge.
So, and that's not in these notes. So I'm just saying that could be an exploit available potentially for DKs.
Well, not anymore.
Yo, you should have saved that for me.
Darn it.
They made a change across all classes to where like different CCs. Like this is actually huge. Like because they've had an issue forever where like they'll go into a new patch and they think they know how all this works, and then there'll just be randomly a Azurite trait or a Soulbind or just some random stupid fucking thing that just breaks every CC you put out. And now they're just making it so if you guys can think of like a root, if you root a mob and then start hitting it, it's going to stay rooted for a few seconds. And they're basically doing that to every hard CC in the game, like Imprison, Paralyze. Not all of them, but like Imprison, Paralyze, Polymorph, things like that. Now will like take a few hits before it actually breaks. Same with some AoE CCs, like Blinding Light, for example. I think that was kind of fascinating. Like you can Blinding Light in a pack, and now maybe that'll like take a few hits, and like that makes that a way better like AoE CC. So
that was really interesting.
Yeah. My hot take is they shouldn't have done this to Polymorph. Polymorph should still be instant if you take one poke of damage. But I think other than that, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think it is true, like Sap and stuff weren't on this list, right? So Sap will still break on one. Wait, is it actually? Let's see. Got to scroll down to the Rogue section.
The Hunter section is so huge. They like completely remade their talent trees, I think. I saw there was like 18 removed talents from one spec. That's insane.
Hunter is sick. MM is getting redesigned to have an eagle pet that's not actually a pet. So it's like not a unit in the game, but it is like a visual thing, right? So you have an eagle that does all the pet stuff, like all the hunter utility, like lusting and doing grievous wounds or whatever. If you want, you have all this coming from your eagle that exists outside the game space, but supports you in combat in a uniquely marksmanship way. Phenomenal. I think extremely cool.
Yeah, and there's like 20 new talents.
They completely reworked Pack Leader as well.
Completely
Pack Leader,
different, yeah.
The Pack Leader was one of the least flavorful hero talent trees, and now it's got all this awesome flavor. You randomly summon bears, wyverns, and boars, and they each do different things and tie into your kit differently. And
yeah, it's sick.
When you drop low on health, a turtle comes to give you the damage reduction. Like, sick. They've actually landed on some Pack Leader fantasy with Pack Leader, so huge W there.
Demon Hunter was like a little controversial because they did some good things. They made like Spectral Sight way less bad. They made it so the really, if anyone played Havoc Season 3, where like you press Blade Dance and it threw your Throw Glaive, and then after that went away, you're like, I never want to press Throw Glaive ever again, right? They actually added it as a talent where that will happen, but then they also like fundamentally changed momentum and inertia, which is... I thought about it a lot. I can kind of understand why they came to this conclusion, but I also think it is definitely going to be less fun than the version of inertia that I really like. So, no, I'm personally not a fan of that. Did you guys see any tanks? Tank stuff, Demon Spike's 2-second increase per use is definitely a lot better for coverage.
There's also a bear talent that gives you magic damage reduction equal to 10% of your damage reduction from armor. Ooh, that's juicy.
Really strong.
Finally,
the last time Guardian Druid was like super goated in raid was Nighthold, and it was almost exclusively because of their ability to have like crazy high magic mitt. And then because of that, they were like, it kind of got like ripped out of their kit because it was so good. And then they've kind of been weak to that for a while. So 10% magic, I don't really know exactly how it's going to not be 10% reduction. I think how much armor do you have reduction? Like 80%.
So the thing about armor is that armor hits diminishing returns pretty quickly. But I wonder how this calculation is going to work, because if it gives you like magical damage reduction equal to what 10% of your armor would do, versus if it takes that post DR value and then gives you 10% of that.
Well, doesn't Ironfur give you armor too?
Yeah, Ironfur does give you armor, but after you get like the third stack of Ironfur, you're getting very little value from each further Ironfur.
Yeah, but it's still
right?
a really big number. Like I feel like it's going to be like 8%. Probably.
I think you can.
8% would be cap, probably.
Yeah, if you stack up some furs, which is not a huge number, but like unlike Mark of Ursel, this is just always active, right? Like you're always going to have this value
for 2 talent points, though. I don't know how like competitive the talent points are for Druid, but I could definitely see like a 4% magic permanent DR being not awesome.
You're getting some talent points back in the tree as well. Verdant Heart is now learned for free, and Layered Mane has been removed. So.
Well, do we know if that talent is going to be on? Like, do we know anything about where these talents are at all?
There is they updated the talent calculator, so I can pull that up.
Because
really?
So one thing I want to mention about the talent calculator too is I definitely have been like really vocally against how bad the Druid tree has basically been since it was initially implemented, and then they like made some changes to it, and it was still really bad. Druids seem to be very, very happy with their new class tree. So that is very good. I haven't actually looked at it myself. I've just heard that it is very, very much better.
Yeah, they did a lot to fix the Druid class tree. That was a huge set of the changes in here. So big W there. And then let's see if we can find... Here's Ursul's warding, Dorky, if you're looking at the share.
Okay. Yeah, so...
Where it is on the tree. So it's like where Layered Mane was, I think, was here.
Yeah, it was Layered Mane, yeah.
So yeah, you can probably...
quite good.
You can probably path to this pretty easily. I think. Yeah. Okay. Any other stuff we want to talk about from the patch notes?
I'm browsing it now. None of us play Hunter enough to know like how significant these Hunter changes are, but it seems like they've completely rebuilt MM, and obviously
MM's a full rework, I would say.
And then obviously BM and Survival, one of their hero talents, completely new, right? So there's a lot new going on with that.
I've been playing some Serve.
This whole CC situation will affect PvP. That's actually like a pretty massive change.
That is kind of interesting. Yeah. Oh, there's one thing. Windwalker actually. So they've added, for the first time, they have given a class an Empower ability that is not an Evoker.
Yeah, Slicing Winds is
Plunderstorm ability.
It's the Plunderstorm ability, yeah.
So
Which, sick.
It is a talent you can take that replaces Flying Serpent Kick that will do significantly more damage. And then, however, it's actually an example of a good Empower ability too. Like when a lot of people heard of the Evoker Empower abilities, they're like, "Oh my god, they're gonna make my ability do this, and it's gonna feel so bad." But like Slicing Winds is a perfect example of like you can see a scenario where you would actually put it at every Empower level, and it depends on your situation. And in general, I think movement empowers make a ton of sense based on distance. And that's exactly how this plays. So I think that'll be really fun. They also buffed their mastery a lot. They literally buffed their mastery by 35%. That is a huge number. They removed Mark of the Crane. So like you no longer need to like debuff mobs to make your Spinning Crane Kick do damage. They just baked all that damage into Spinning Crane Kick all the time. So a lot of good stuff for Windwalker.
They took away Rapture for Disc Priest, which is a shame.
Did they bake that in
really
somehow?
Sick. No, I don't think so. I think that one of their goals was just we are reducing the number of cooldowns Disc has access to, and we're baking some of that power into other abilities. So that's kind of a shame because the tier set would have been so fun with Rapture. I made a video talking about the set bonuses. And I looked at the disc one. And I was like, "Oh, dude, imagine pressing Rapture with this." And then,
huge ramps, and then it's just gone.
Shame, so sad.
Shaman lost Ancestral Guidance, all 3 specs.
Yes.
And that, okay, I kind of get it. So they like made, so remember like there was some time last expansion when like there was no one's running healers, and I think the prevalence of like Vampiric Embrace, Nature's Vigil, and AG were like really a big reason why. They nerfed the fuck out of Nature's Vigil to accommodate for that. Vampiric Embrace has always kind of been like somewhat whatever, but AG when shamans are strong is way better than all of those. Like it will actually just like kind of solo heal your party with cooldowns. And I think it's hard for them to balance healing in this game with something like that existing. Like I mean, they even specifically mentioned like Resto Shamans just like tied into their cooldowns, and it's not super interesting. So it's kind of like a baseline Resto nerf. But I actually think if you're a Shaman player, you're like, hey, I've lost something that made me have power. This is bad.
Yeah.
I play Shaman a little bit, but I can see from like the overall game perspective that like balancing something like that and having it exist is insane. And also, that's a class with the most keybinds ever. So like removing one of them is definitely not the worst idea in the world. I'm
plus one keybind, baby. There we go. That's good. That's one more slot on the old hotbar freed up. Yeah, I think I kind of feel like they were waiting for a season where shamans were good so they could justify doing this nerf to them.
They're so good.
Yeah, like
shamans have been. One spec of Shaman, mostly enhanced, has been very good for a very long time. Kind of flying under the radar, but like, well, not right now, but like they are so strong.
Yeah, right now all 3 specs are good. They did a bunch of changes to enhance as well to try and make it so you actually feel like your melee abilities are you're not just like a melee alley shaman.
They took the damage away from your spenders, which like definitely enhances damage. Was way too much of it was coming from spenders for sure. Which will also make it feel less bad to like throw the occasional like 10 Maelstrom weapon heal out, you know, if like you're losing less damage from that decision. Makes the other abilities do more damage. And they also made it like just like a little quality of life thing. Like when you're pressing Primwave, you now press Primwave and then you press Primwave keybind again, rather than like Primwave and then Lightning Bolt or Primwave and then Tempest. Same thing for Ellie, where it's like more immediate and it's less like, it's not button bloat, it's just simpler. And if you've played Enhance, them making a lot of those decisions more simple is absolutely a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing. This is huge. Lashing Flames. Really, really bad passive that makes it so like when you use your Lava Lash on a target previously, it like buffed your Flame Shock by 100% on it. And your Flame Shock does a ton of damage. So like you'd have to tab target mid-pack, kind of similar to the Mark of the Crane, but way more annoying. And now they made it so Sundering AoE applies it. And also there's a talent where Sundering will reset itself constantly, which gives them more stops and like more ways to like spread Lashing Flames. Quality of life, absolutely insane from that.
Yeah. Yeah, Enhance, I think, looks like there's a new visual coming for Crash Lightning as well. Crash Lightning's visual, animation, and sound have been completely revamped. So, I'll have to see what that means. Hopefully that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the raid bosses, by the way?
Yeah, dude, one of them is called the One-Armed Bandit.
Yeah, I didn't see. So, you can see in the the actual WoW casting, they definitely kind of showed a lot of the bosses off. The Cauldron of Carnage is like King Kong versus Godzilla, the like two mechanical like gorilla and dinosaur like going at each other, and it's like a crazy dodge thing. Rick Reverb is like the DJ boss, third boss, obviously super thematic, probably like kind of a meme boss, maybe some sachet left shit going on. And then some of these names, Sprocket Monger Lockenstock, that's a boss name. And then I do have a little concern. It's probably an orc, so maybe I shouldn't be, but Mugsy Heads of Security sounds like a 2-target second to last boss, and we know how that goes. But
oh,
also,
I thought it was like a an ogre, like Cho'Gall, right? Mugsy.
yeah, and
With,
it
like,
has 2 heads. That's
2 heads. Yeah.
That's what we're hoping, right? Because the council multi-target second to last bosses are the hit rate is way smaller. So fan of that. Who is the one-armed bandit? What is that going to be about?
So a one-armed bandit is a nickname for a slot machine. That's a slot machine operated by pulling a long handle at the side. I'm a knower of things. I'm a general knowledge expert. So yeah, you know the slot machines that have you pull the arm on the side. That's why it's a one-armed bandit.
The old
it steals your money and it
ones,
has one arm.
No, but I mean, like, where's one-armed bandit even from? Like some Hearthstone lore or something?
Oh no, I don't think we know.
No, like the one-armed bandit is IRL slang for a slot machine.
So maybe we're doing a slot machine fight. Maybe like a Spoils of Pandaria kind of thing. Which, by the way, was an excellent raid boss. Very, very good fight.
Yeah.
The first dungeon boss's name is Big Mama. And the last boss is Giesel Gigazap. Holy shit. What a fucking name, man.
Oh, and there's Swampface. That's one of your characters, isn't it, there?
Huh?
Swampface? That sounds like a Max character name.
That is never a Max. I mean, it's a great name, but no,
it's close.
Never done that.
It's a great
The Demolition Duo as well.
And then, oh man, I don't know. There was one point, I will not be able to find this in time, but if you want, in the WoWcast, there's like a moment. I found it. There's a moment exactly at this point in the video where you can see, like when we were looking at these cars, we don't know exactly like how fast they're going to go or like whatever. They kind of show one of them drifting around in a circle, and it's fucking zooming. And it is drifting crazy. Like, here, let me put it in the thing. So it's just exactly at that timestamp. Just play it, and you will see like the car driving for a second, and then look at the one drifting around in a circle in the middle, and look how fast it's going. Oh, we can all see it. That's good.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, turn the sound off. But like right here, it's right after this. Look at the car. That thing is fucking moving.
I think they said it was going to go faster than dragon riding at max speed. Which
I cannot. The cars are going to be so fucking cool, man.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna have so much fun with this patch. I mean, it's like the flavor is there. They've got some cool mechanics. They've got some cool ideas. They're doing a lot of cool stuff to the classes as well. Like these class changes are overwhelmingly a dub, I think. And also we're gonna get to wear Cersei Circlet for the first couple of weeks or months of this patch as well. So that's poggers.
Yeah, I'm sure. Damn.
Unless they screw up the balance.
All right, I think we did it.
I think so as well.
And
yes,
we have no Patreon question because this was like an impromptu. We lied that we were gonna not make one, and then we did. We will definitely not. Right? There's no chance we make one next week. Right? It's like Christmas is when we would record it. Like literally
I'm hard
Christmas.
gone this time next week.
Okay, so we will not be lying. We are definitely not having an episode next week. But some Patreon
how many times
content,
have we lied so far?
A lot.
We've lied a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, on cooldown.
We also make stuff up all the time, which
100%.
is great.
You guys seen the tier set models? Got any?
Oh,
here's our Patreon
okay.
question this week. What's your favorite tier set model?
Mine, okay, so the monk, I like what the monk is trying to do. It like looks kind of like Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan shit. I think the mage one is like really unique. And then I really like the warlock one, but I heard a lot of warlocks are like we've seen some stuff like this before. Here, look at the monk one.
Okay, here's Evoker, Hunter. Ooh, the Hunter one.
What the hell is going on?
Has like some look at mage, dude. Mage is like there's so many default mage sets. I like how they went with the like the hair looks crazy.
Yeah, this is a weird silhouette for sure, but it's interesting.
Look at the monk one, like the first monk one.
Yeah,
Look, literally Dragon Ball Z hair.
Yeah.
You have to have a crazy like cat face thing, but like the first and the blue one looks really cool too.
Ooh, I bet this goes crazy with some of the artifact skins as well.
Yeah, there's like basically all of these sets have like shoulders, helms, and gloves that could go crazy with like any Mog. Like look at the lion shoulders, the blue right there, like that one. Like that looks
These
so good.
slot into like any
Everything,
of the paladin
yeah.
sets that you want. Yeah. Here's the priest ones are. This is
They're not good.
I think this is so. I think the
You
helmet
think
is
they're
so
cool?
here.
I thought
Yeah,
the priest was like the worst one.
I think I don't like some of the later colors here, but actually I feel like if this is
Oh,
Elevar
Rogue is sick.
normal,
Rogue is sick. Rogue is
these are
sick.
good.
Scroll down. Look at this shit.
Oh,
Fucking pirate. Look at the third one. Yeah, like the golden red one.
yeah,
Holy
golden red
moly.
one. Oh wow, that was good. The PvP colors as well.
Shaman didn't hit for me. It just looked like a normal ass Shaman set.
Yeah, I would describe that as a miss as well.
So
There's
don't you think the
yeah,
Warlock stuff is cool? So the Warlocks are like sideways heads that move it. Like you can't really see them in a still image.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I think this is sick.
I
I always
sick.
love the heavily asymmetric parts of any set bonus, any tier set as well. Like the way this helmet is not symmetrical. I always like that in the Warlocks, the kind of the darker classes.
And then the Warriors just super basic.
Yeah. This actually again combines well with a bunch of previous Warrior set bonuses or sets though. You could do some mixing and matching. I think the shoulders are actually cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I'm going
I think
Rogue. I think Rogue.
Yeah, I think Rogue is the winner for me. The Evoker one is pretty
Gotta
sick
be
as
the
well. Hang on,
monk.
where's the Evoker one? You like the Monk one?
The Evoker one just doesn't matter though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, if you ever were out of form, this would be super sick. But
Look at
obviously, it
the
doesn't
ones on
look
the
good
dragons look so stupid. It's like a shoulder piece.
yeah, his shoulder piece, and then you just the stupid belts, man. It's so dumb what the way Evokers look with armor. It's so bad. But the actual Evoker tier looks good. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Cool. All right, that's it for the PoddyC for the year.
Yep.
Unless you're a patron, in which case we got some PoddyT and life advice stuff coming out over the next couple of days or holidays or whatever, whenever Frank releases them. But yeah, we'll
have a
see
potty
you
Christmas
next year.
Odd
Yeah,
out.
we said that last time, but we will also see you next year this time. Not lying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bye.
definitely not going to see you guys next week.
Blow up.